Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about how you're not allowed to get excited about all these media outlets imploding. You're not allowed to.
Okay.
It's a very somber time. Journalists don't want you getting excited that journalists are losing their jobs.
Yeah, imagine that.
Imagine that. Don't celebrate. This is a very serious time for our country. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this article from the New York Post. Don't cheer the spate of media layoffs. Newspapers are essential to our republic. Yeah, actual newspapers, not whatever the media has been passing itself off as for the last 10, 15 years. So we're going to talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture, news, views, and rants, guys. Yeah, woohoo if you do.
Woohoo!
So I started out in newspapers, and then I migrated onto the web. And yada, yada, yada. Now we're doing this. But I did start out yada, yada, yada. But we did start out being actual journalists. You know, we do run websites. That being said, a lot of the people that try to claim that they are journalists working in the digital media space, especially, are not journalists. And what we're seeing, I believe, is a course correction. We're seeing a lot of these media outlets that were propped up with venture capital and inflated ad rates and a lot of smoke and mirrors, finally, we're finally seeing where they stand. We're seeing whether or not people will actually support them. And the truth is people are not supporting them. People are not paying for this shit anymore, and they're tired of it and they're folding, but you're not allowed to be happy about it, guys. It's funny because we talked a little bit about Taylor Lorenz before.
Oh, yes. And
last year she said, don't fight the future. And then you fast forward a couple months and she's freaking out because every newspaper is laying off every.
Well, she probably thought she was the future.
She thought
she wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she's like freaking out. She's like, oh my God, guys. Like, oh my God, journalism's imploding. All these websites that, I grew up with.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm laughing about that because people are like, yeah, she's like 50 pretending to be a 30-year-old. But
yeah, she's that old, but she's definitely not 30.
No, they're imploding. BuzzFeed's imploding. Vice is imploding. They're all getting hit by the meteor here, but you're not allowed to be happy about it. So this comes from the New York Post. Don't cheer the spate of media layoffs. Newspapers are essential. Bad news for the media often feels like good news for conservatives.
Whoa, wait a minute.
That's the first
So what
sentence.
you're telling me then, if bad news for the media sounds good news for conservatives, that tells me is the bad news is that sites that lean left are going under, so conservatives are cheering. So basically you're starting off the article just indicating that the sites that are going under are the ones that have political bias, and that the conservatives are happy about it because our political bias sites aren't going to be there anymore. But that's what you start off saying.
The very first sentence, but then they walk it back in the next two paragraphs.
I know, but I'm just saying you start with that. So you clearly have a bias from the beginning, and you're also admitting with that one sentence that we're pissed that a lot of far left-leaning sites are going under. That's what you just admitted.
That's exactly what they're pissed about. So word that Vice and BuzzFeed are laying off hundreds of journalists weeks after the complete collapse of the Messenger won't elicit much sympathy from the right.
Again, they've been blaming it on conservatives. So you're basically saying when these websites are terrible, or no, I'm sorry, these websites are far leftist websites, and now that they're shutting down, there's no democracy anymore.
There's no democracy.
Since no one's there to tell everybody what to think on our side, it's not fair. And it's like, how about, here's the wild idea. Why don't news sites just stick to what they're supposed to report on, or just stick to facts? There's always that too. And that's across the board. I'm not just picking on one side or the other.
Because facts don't bring views. People don't want facts. They want
views. It's about
bias
views.
Confirmation.
It's confirmation bias, and it's narrative control.
Yep. Then again, it's not just conservatives who disapprove of the news business today.
There's a lot of people. I think a lot of people in the middle think you're all full of shit.
Gallup last year found a paltry 32% of Americans say they have a great deal or fair amount of trust in the mass media. Only 32%.
Oh, I guess they're all conservative. Then I guess the remaining, 68% are all conservatives, right?
Yeah, right.
Clearly, because...
Yeah, they said the same survey found 29% had not very much trust in the media, and a record-setting 39% confessed they had none at all.
Yeah, well, I'm more leaning towards the 39% anymore. I sure as hell would never put my trust in Vice or BuzzFeed.
No, they were all propped up with venture capital.
Oh my God, you mean all the quizzes I took on BuzzFeed telling me which princess I was based on my sign wasn't real? It wasn't factually based, and it was and it wasn't actual news? Because when I think of news sites, BuzzFeed wasn't one of the top.
No.
Vice wasn't one of the top sites I think of. Where am I going to get actual accurate news?
So getting lost in this, traditional newspapers are taken for granted. No, actually, they had a newspaper Death Watch website. I don't know if it's still out there or not, but there were a lot of people working for these outlets who were proudly claiming that they were helping to bury newspapers once and for all. So congratulations. Now you're the next to get gone. That's how it always works, isn't it? You always have people bragging about like, we're replacing you. And then, like a couple of years later, oh shit, I'm getting replaced.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like AI, it's like, oh, look at all those, coal miners losing their jobs. You should learn to code. Oh shit, AI can code now. So whoopsie doopsie. So here's the problem. The sites and others that stake their survival on algorithms they don't control. That is the problem. They said,
wait. You just got done bashing conservatives for the first part. Then you're saying that no one trusts the news, but now you're saying it's because of algorithms.
They said the algorithm.
Which is it?
Yeah, they said a decade ago, outlets like Vice and BuzzFeed were meant to be the future of media, again, making fun of the newspapers. A new species adapted for the internet, but those sites and others stake their survival on algorithms they don't control.
So now it's the algorithm's fault. I'm really trying to understand because so far you've blamed...
I'm mad and I'm going to scream at the clouds. I don't know why I'm mad. I'm just mad that I went to school for journalism and now...
It's YouTube's fault.
It's YouTube's... No, they tried blaming YouTubers. They have.
No, I mean in this article.
Oh, I'm sure we'll get there.
So we've got three different reasons it's someone's fault, okay?
First came search engine optimization, gaming the algorithms that would decide which content gets served to millions of Facebook and Twitter
which
users.
Means that Vice and BuzzFeed and them would do such a thing. There was actually BuzzFeed, they admitted that they were gaming the algorithms and things like that. So that's what they did.
Yep. And they talked about the clickbait, and they said, how much clickbait could readers take?
But I thought these were actual news sites we should be upset about that are gone. Which is it? Are there actual
we're getting to that, I think.
They're clickbait. I'm really confused.
They're just angry that the whole thing is imploding, and they're blaming BuzzFeed and Vice now for newspapers dying too. I don't know. But the thing is, a lot of those people, they actually work for the newspapers too. A lot of those newspapers, like, again, to bring up Taylor Lorenz, she actually got sued for writing shit on the website for, what was it, New York Times or one of the major newspapers, reputable newspapers. And it's all the same thing now. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, basically, a newspaper at this point is just a hard copy of a website. That's what it is. It doesn't matter if it's being printed or not. It's still media. It's all the same thing. Online media startups attracted investment by showing phenomenal growth. It was like an athlete on steroids.
Attracted investment, venture capital.
Yes.
And they are propped up by venture capital, not reality.
Yep. Entrepreneurial young journalists, well connected with classmates, garnered hype and headlines from their friends. That sparked investor excitement, and with investor money, news sites could show a rapid explosion in traffic since they were starting from nothing.
But wait, that sounds to me, if you have a rapid explosion in traffic when you started from nothing, either you promoted and spent a shit ton of money on promotion,
yes,
or you cheated.
I think it's yes. I think it's yes to both. I think in the case of BuzzFeed, they used Facebook and they pumped a ton of money into Facebook ads. And then once Facebook decided it wanted to be a walled garden and it would actually warn people like, hey, you're leaving Facebook.
Well, they mentioned that down here.
Oh, okay.
Which is what we've been telling people, but go ahead.
Yeah, it said the solution for Facebook once new users started tapering off was to get existing users to spend more time on the site. Yeah, which meant no longer sending them to other sites like news sources. That was how they gamed it for the longest time. Like, it was real easy to grow a website. You basically just publish articles and then you boost them on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and then you send traffic to your website, and then you make that money back because on the website you had ads. Well, now everybody's got ad blockers.
And the ad rates have plummeted.
And
now Twitter and Facebook try to keep you on the platform.
They want you there. Yeah, they want you there. Yeah, they said Facebook and X make it nearly impossible to promote journalism on their site.
No shit, we've been saying this.
I think they watch our videos.
I don't know. We've been saying it.
Literally point by point, everything, because we've been running websites for like 15 years. No, we actually
don't, like, the way that point by point, some of it. Other parts, it's like, they're just like, but it's this person's fault, not fault.
No. I'm saying as far as like how the breakdown of why.
Oh, God, I need Tylenol.
Why it doesn't work like it used to work. The venture capital, the Facebook changes. And we've been talking about this for like 2 years now. Like, eventually the money is going to run out because Facebook doesn't want you to leave.
Oh, okay.
When social media was young, they needed to maximize traffic, which meant playing host to any kind of content users wanted, including news. And here we go. Here it is. Here it is. You're right. YouTube and Facebook felt like the Wild West in those days, neither copyright law nor political correctness putting a damper on what users could share.
They're not blaming it, but I don't know. I'm not even understanding what the point is.
Today, politics isn't the main reason social media suppresses news, but it's an aggravating factor. What's this have to do with newspapers?
What's this have to do with the first sentence being about the conservatives are happy that they're all closing? I'm very confused.
I don't understand.
Was this written by AI but wasn't checked?
I don't know. Smith pointed out that progressive campaigns to shame advertisers into abandoning Fox News or X encourage advertisers to avoid all political risks. So basically, when we tell them not to advertise on Twitter or Fox News because we don't like the bigots, they decide that they're not going to spend money anywhere, including our sites. Now our sites are dying too. Karmic boomerang, I guess. They're talking about Budweiser. What does this have to do with newspapers? Budweiser's humiliating losses, and then they turn around, they replace Dylan Mulvaney with Shane Gillis. And they're pissed about that too, by the way. Why advertise with any politically charged news organization?
Why can't we just have news organizations that report the truth? Why is everything have to be politically charged? That you answered your own question.
Yeah, right. If left-leaning sites like Vice and BuzzFeed are collateral damage in progressives' war on right-of-center political expression, that makes what? What the fuck is this article about?
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's basically okay. I can sum it up. Author leans left. Author's very pissed that the sites that he or she like or works for that are left-leaning are going under. And they're blaming it on politics, when a lot of times it was just on venture capital, smoke and mirrors, bullshit. And, I'm sure there's sites on the right that have gone under too. But like, you guys, were clickbaiting the hell out of everything, listicles, all that shit. It wasn't sustainable. But now it's because of politics. And because I'm mad. It's like, this is stupid.
What they contradict
their damn stupid. This had the AI. AI is smarter than this.
They contradicted their own headline. They said newspapers by contrast. So we finally get the newspapers all the way down here. Finally, newspapers flourished as local institutions sustained by retailers. That's true. The emergence of online, national, and even global retail, however, has meant that ad spending isn't dictated by geography anymore. That's also true. Businesses can reach consumers directly or cast a wider net by buying on Google or Facebook. Okay, they're like, newspapers served as a town hall. The wipeout of hype-driven, placeless new media isn't a cause for celebration, but it's not a disaster for a republic. But you just got done saying newspapers dying are essential. What the fuck are you talking about?
There's a lot of comments. Are people like, what the hell are you talking about?
What the fuck? They said fewer newspapers mean more centralized power, more conflict over it. Conservatives who don't want to have reason to want news. Basically it's conservatives' fault. Conservatives who don't want that have reason to Conservatives who don't want that have reason to want newspapers to survive. I have to reread this. Conservatives who don't want that have reason to
your
want. Your
editor head's probably exploding right now.
And newspapers that want to survive have to fight hard for local interests and values, including conservative ones. What the fuck?
But conservatives are the enemy and want everything down.
What the? Twitter. Tory anarchist. Okay. What the fuck is this article?
That's a good question. What is this article?
Your only chance, maggot. I want to look at these. Okay, sort by best. Get your non-truths from Truth Media and Newsmax. Maintain your ignorance. God, Daniel, I cheer those laid off who abdicated the responsibility of their profession to become apologists, public relations, cheerleaders for specific causes unrelated to their job. As such, you're wrong. Sometimes for the herd to survive, a cull must be undertaken. That was more eloquently written than any one sentence in that article.
That was a real article.
Daniel's late to the game. This piece, written 10 years ago, would hold more weight. What's not impressive?
This can't be written 10 years ago.
Toby here says, sorry, and this is true. We'll talk about this with our local newspaper. Most newspaper content is garbage and 90% copied, all from the same content providers. That'd be like the Associated Press and stuff like that. Independent journalists are far more valuable with their online postings. Yeah, that's what he, they, them, whoever the fuck the computer that wrote this is not bringing up. There are independent journalists who are working on platforms like Facebook and X and YouTube who are being completely cut out of this conversation because we can't admit that, like, they might be right. Like, you don't need an
I don't even
institution.
understand what this idiot's talking about. Like, it's like best of times, it's the worst of times. It was up, it was down. It was hot, and it was cold. Yeah, because conservatives love it.
This is just
democracy's dead.
This is fucking nonsense. Like, okay, so here you're proving the point.
It's like word salad.
Yeah, exactly. This is the New York Post. If this is all it takes to get an article published by the New York Post, newspapers are fucking dead. They are fucking lost. You've just proven why nobody.
Yes, is why no one listens to you.
You have just proved with this article that your newspaper is fucking worthless, and that the opinions in that newspaper should not be listened to, because this is like written by a seventh grader.
Oh, don't insult seventh graders.
Yeah, I'm like, it's ridiculous. They're like, yeah, newspapers are essential. Yeah, 50 years ago, maybe they were important. They said newspapers have always been muckraking propaganda rags. That is actually true. It depends on, there's a whole thing behind that. Yeah. We should absolutely cheer the spate of media layoffs. The layoffs are occurring because the media has become intolerably biased. And so they have lost their relevance to the general public.
Right. Because I think, and I said this many times, most people, we're talking center right, most people are in the middle. Most people are in the middle. They might lean left, they might lean right, but they are in the middle. And they're not extreme on either side. But these media outlets, news outlets, a lot of times tend to lean to the extremes, and it's turning off everybody. Even people who might agree with you, usually you take it so far, they don't even agree with you. And then you got this shit like this where it's a word salad that makes no sense. It contradicts itself at every turn. And you're like, well, how the hell was this even published? The editor, I'm sure in Kneon, was just like, holy shit. How did this get through?
If somebody turned this into me, they gave this to me, I'd be like, what the fuck is your point? Like, you need to make it clear what the point of the article is within the first paragraph or two. And it's just a meandering.
Well, they did in the first sentence. We hate conservatives.
I hate conservatives.
And they're happy that the newspaper, my friends got laid off and conservatives are cheering. And that's what the point of it was.
I love this. What's the end game? No, everyone should cheer the layoffs at any and all biased media.
Agree.
This is capitalism at its best. I agree. I think it's basically there's no demand for your shit anymore, so people aren't spending. If your outlet can't make a profit because you're pushing biased opinions instead of news, then you need to correct your business plan or go bankrupt. Yes. Doesn't matter if it's from the Washington Post or from Fox. If you can't sustain readership, change your approach. This person said, yeah, newspapers used to be essential, but they're not now, but people aren't reading it because they're biased. Said when news sources, this is Vox Populi, when news sources go back to being actual unbiased sources for news instead of not being slanted one way or the other, then they'll care. Outfits like BuzzFeed and Vice are not news sources.
No, I never would count them as news sites.
They're entertainment sites dressed up to look like journalism, but they're about as far removed from true journalism as you can get.
I agree. That is pretty much it. Like whenever they're using examples as Vice and BuzzFeed, I'm like, I thought you were talking about journalism and like actual news sites. Those are not what I would consider news sites.
This is just nonsense. It's just like, you've just proven why more newspapers and more websites, news websites need to die. Because it's nonsense and you're getting called out in the comments for your nonsense.
Well, most of the writing in this was nonsense. In the pure form of the word, meaning of the word nonsense. It like didn't make sense. It's
nonsensical.
It makes no sense.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Just
I cannot process any more of this nonsense. It actually causes me pain.
My head hurts trying to make sense of these sentences. Like I don't know what you're trying to say.
It causes me physical pain. I don't want to torture myself any longer.
Wow. Okay, so there we go, guys. The market is self-correcting. That's basically the end of the day. That's what's going on. The market is self-correcting. If there were a demand for your newspaper or your website, you'd be fine.
My takeaway was that most people don't trust the media.
That is true too. And that's why there's no demand, because nobody trusts you. And you did it to yourselves. You did it to yourselves. We're going to wrap it up.
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.